It was a quiet evening when I decided to drop by my girlfriend's mom's house. She had mentioned she wasn't feeling well earlier that day, and as her daughter was out of town, I thought I'd swing by to make sure everything was okay. I had no intention of staying long. I figured I'd check in, make sure she had everything she needed, and head out. When I walked in, she was sitting on the couch, looking a little frazzled but relieved to see me. "Oh, thank you for coming," she said, offering me a cup of tea as we sat down and chatted about her day. Time seemed to slip away as we talked, and by the time I glanced at the clock, it was already late. I stood up, apologizing for keeping her up so long, but as I turned to leave, something in her expression shifted. She looked at me with an odd vulnerability, her eyes lingering a bit too long. "Wait," she said, almost hesitantly. "Before you go, can you stay here tonight? I don't like being alone." The words caught me off guard. It wasn't like her to ask for something like that, especially not from me. I could feel the weight of her gaze, the unspoken tension in the air. My mind raced. What did she mean by that? Was she just lonely, or was there something more? I stood frozen, caught between the concern for her well-being and the strange, uncomfortable tension that was beginning to build. I wasn't sure how to respond, the silence between us thickening with each passing second. But then she broke it, her voice quieter now, as if trying to make the offer sound casual, almost innocent. "I just don't want to be here by myself. It's a big house, and I feel uneasy." Her request lingered in the air like a challenge, and as I stood there, I had to ask myself, could I leave her like this, knowing she was asking for more than just company? Or was this a dangerous game we were about to play? This script sets the stage for suspense, exploring the emotional tension and the complexities of relationships that extend beyond the obvious. The reader or viewer is left questioning the true nature of the request and the potential consequences of accepting it, making it an enticing hook for a larger, viral narrative. I stood there for a moment, my hand still on the door handle, my mind reeling. I could hear the quiet hum of the house around me, the distant creak of floorboards, the faint rustling of wind against the windows. But none of that could drown out the pounding in my chest. I had no idea how to respond. She was still sitting on the couch, her eyes wide with a hint of something unspoken, that seemed to hang between us. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was more like an unacknowledged truth, one that had been hiding beneath the surface for far too long. I couldn't explain it, but I felt it in the pit of my stomach. Her voice broke the silence, softer now, almost pleading. "You don't have to stay forever, just until I fall asleep. I hate being alone in the house. Please." There was something so vulnerable in her tone that it was hard to say no. I knew she wasn't asking for anything inappropriate, at least not in the way my mind was starting to wander. But it was late, and the last thing I wanted was to make things awkward. The pull of decency fought against the growing discomfort inside me. But then, just as I opened my mouth to decline, I saw it, the faintest flicker of something in her eyes. A need, yes, but also something deeper. Something personal. It hit me with an unsettling clarity. I wasn't just a guest here anymore. I was something more. Before I could stop myself, I found myself sitting back down on the couch. "All right," I said, my voice sounding strangely distant even to my own ears. "I'll stay. But only until you fall asleep, okay?" She smiled, but it wasn't the carefree, polite smile I was used to. This was different, warmer, more intimate, as though my presence had given her a kind of comfort she hadn't realized she was missing. "I don't think I can sleep without you here," she whispered, almost to herself. We didn't speak much after that. She sat in silence, her head resting on the arm of the couch, her eyes fluttering shut every now and then, but I could tell she wasn't truly asleep. I wasn't sure what was keeping her awake, whether it was her own racing thoughts or the strange tension in the air between us, but it made the room feel thick with something I couldn't name. Minutes stretched into hours. I knew I should have left. I knew this situation wasn't exactly right, and yet, as I watched her slowly doze off, a strange part of me felt at peace, too at peace. The quiet was almost comforting. There was a warmth in the room, an intimacy I hadn't expected. But with that warmth came an undeniable tension, one that settled into my bones like a weight I couldn't shake. I stood up, my mind urging me to leave, to do what was right. But as I turned to walk away, I felt her hand brush mine. The touch was fleeting, but it was enough. Enough to make me freeze. Enough to make me realize I wasn't just a guest in her home anymore. I had crossed a line, even if I didn't fully understand what that line meant yet. "Stay," she murmured again, her voice barely a whisper. "Please, don't go." And in that moment, I knew I couldn't leave. Not yet. This chapter dives deeper into the complexity of the situation, building on the tension between the two characters. The physical closeness, the lingering hand touch, and the vulnerability of the moment create a sense of discomfort and anticipation, setting the stage for what comes next. The reader is left wondering, will this connection lead to something deeper, or will it unravel in ways neither of them can predict? The night stretched on, the soft hum of the house now an odd comfort. The warmth of the room, the faint scent of lavender from the candles she'd lit earlier. It all seemed to pull me into a strange kind of stillness, one that I wasn't sure was right, but one I couldn't escape. Her breathing had slowed, but I could tell she wasn't fully asleep. Every so often, she would stir, as if she was caught between slumber and wakefulness, her body shifting closer to mine, whether intentional or not. I sat on the edge of the couch, my mind at war with itself. Should I leave? Should I stay? The pull of decency kept urging me to do the right thing, to leave before anything crossed a line, but there was something about the way she was curled up next to me, so small, so fragile, that made it hard to walk away. It felt natural, her being this close. Too natural. I kept telling myself it was just the circumstances. She was lonely, and I was here to help. But the closer she inched toward me, the more I realized how thin that excuse was. There was something magnetic in the air, something neither of us was willing to acknowledge, but it was there. Unspoken. Tangible. I leaned back slightly, trying to give her space, trying to ignore the pull in my chest that wanted me to be closer. It wasn't right. I kept telling myself that. She was my girlfriend's mom. My mind kept circling back to that truth, and yet, in the stillness of the night, it felt like the most irrelevant thing in the world. "Are you awake?" she asked suddenly, her voice raspy with sleep, pulling me out of my thoughts. I froze, unsure of how to respond. She had shifted again, her body closer to mine now. Her hand brushed against my arm as she tried to adjust herself, and it felt like an electric shock. I couldn't decide if it was just the lingering tension or something more. "Yeah, I'm awake," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. She didn't say anything for a long moment, and I thought maybe she had drifted off again. But then, her voice broke the silence, quiet and uncertain. "I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable earlier. I just didn't want to be alone." I looked at her face half hidden in the soft glow of the lamp, her eyes searching for something in mine. She looked so vulnerable in that moment, and it almost felt like she was offering a piece of herself to me that I wasn't sure I could accept. I had always known her to be strong, capable, never someone to ask for help. And yet, here she was, laying her loneliness bare in front of me. "I know," I said softly, unsure of how to comfort her. "It's okay. I'm just not used to this. But you're not alone. I'm here." The words felt strange coming out of my mouth. I was here, yes, but in the deepest parts of my mind, I wasn't sure what here really meant anymore. It wasn't just about being physically present. It was about the shifting dynamics between us. There was a long pause before she spoke again, her voice quieter this time, almost vulnerable. "Do you ever feel like you've crossed a line? Even when you don't mean to?" The question caught me off guard. My heart skipped a beat as I processed her words. Had she felt it too? The tension, the unspoken understanding that seemed to be building between us with every passing moment. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my racing thoughts. "I'm not sure what you mean," I replied, though I knew exactly what she was talking about. She looked at me then, her gaze intense, searching for something in my eyes. "Sometimes, the lines aren't clear," she murmured. "Sometimes, we cross them without realizing. And then, it's hard to go back." The weight of her words hung in the air between us, thick and heavy. It was a truth neither of us wanted to acknowledge, but there it was, staring us in the face. The boundaries had already started to blur. And the more I stayed, the more I realized that neither of us could unsee what was happening. I could feel the pull between us, like a gravitational force that neither of us could control. And as I sat there, the silence stretched longer, neither of us daring to speak again. The moment felt endless, a suspended reality where the world outside no longer mattered. I wasn't sure where we went from here, but I knew one thing for sure. We had crossed a threshold, one that would change everything. And in that moment, I realized that no matter